Hi, everyone, and welcome to the LFC Toronto show. I've lost count. We're somewhere in the 20s, but we're actually recording this time on a Friday night. So thanks for giving up your Fridays, gents. How's it going, Jake?
Beautiful. Excited for Sunday, of course.
Yeah.
It's just been on our minds, so I just can't wait for it. Can't wait. Can't sleep.
And
Can't
Dan,
wait.
how are you doing,
It's
mate?
Friday? It's Friday. Oh, yeah, short week. Oh, yeah, I thought it was Thursday, our usual time. No, I'm great. Thank you for asking, and looking forward to that dessert of a match on the weekend.
Yeah. Honestly, I so wish we were playing tomorrow. Like, I know it's going to be cool waking up on Sunday and knowing that we've got the match to look forward to. But, like, I am jonesing to get into the game tomorrow. And one of the reasons is because before we get on to Sunday, let's just have some feel good. Let's talk a little bit about earlier this week on Wednesday. What was that all about? Like, we had a top 1-1. Now, before I get your views on the game, I just want to say a couple of things. Firstly, on the BBC, I think it was Alan Houghton, I can't remember who it was, but somebody, an ex-Rangers player, did a combined team and actually had 6 Rangers players in the 11. And if you ever needed to...
It's Ali McCoy's, probably.
It wasn't McCoy's.
No, it wasn't.
But if you it was Houghton. It was Houghton, I believe. And if you ever needed to know how weirdly deranged football fans are, and maybe we are as well, that right there is the issue. So that's point number 1 before you take it away. Point number 2 is at halftime, there was another former Rangers player who was like, they're on the ropes, let's go get them in the second half kind of thing on Twitter. Anyway, then we know what happened in the second half. Sorry, Dan, go.
No, I just want to jump right into it, but that's what annoys me about the whole thing, which is like, so you have that talk, right? First half, obviously the first goal, halftime. And then after we put in like a half of just brilliance, obviously in Mo and everything, then it's discounted, right? Then, it's just, Liverpool has to, it's expected, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you can't have it both ways. Like Mobb Deep once rapped, ain't no such thing as halfway crooks, right? So you got to like think about where you're coming in from, you know what I mean? As a pundits. Anyway, but it was a classy performance. And what do you think about Mo, Jake? I think he showed up a little bit. What do you think?
I mean, I do like the test in terms of like Rangers played very well. I do like the fact that shout out to Canadian, Artfield, he scored, the Canadian content there from that perspective. However, they gave us a push, like completely. They felt very good in the first half that they had a chance, and they played well. Did we make them look better? Did we whatever? Anyways, we had a mishmash of a team. But a few moments that I did like of the match. One being, I really love that whole Mo on top of Harvey moment, like waiting for the goal to be celebrated, and then hugging and the hole on the shoulders and whatever else. And I can't even imagine just being like an 18-year-old kid scoring in a Champions League match, like on any level, and then doing it for your boyhood club on top of that, right? And so
Mo right on your shoulder,
and that's that. And then you get like the and that's like an overshadowed moment because then you have like Mo, who like literally in like 3 seconds scores a hat trick, and I was like, I was like, wait a second, did this just happen? Like, is there? I couldn't believe it. So at the frequency and how he was just, and of course, a lot of Liverpool fans, including us on days, are just kind of like, we have this high expectation of him always because it's his own fault because of his success from that. So he keeps pushing that bar up, and the expectations are, of course, from us. So when he has a couple of off games, and fine, our shape's been a little bit mishmash, but like, this going into the Sunday of having a bit of form for him, and just that little release of pressure is really good for him and the entire squad from that standpoint. So I really enjoyed the Mo, cameo from that standpoint, which is really good. The only thing I'm so kind of gutted for is the Ali Becker kind of not clean sheet perspective. But
Hey, one thing to throw in there, by the way, I have to shout out Donna, our club pub ambassador, at the pub at E&C before the hat trick, when he was coming on, right? So he did subbed on all that kind of stuff. she said he's going to score a hat trick. So I told her, I said, listen, Donna, like after that, she was just, frantic, hugging everybody, Donna. Shout out, Donna. And please clip this so she gets this, by the way, on social. But anyway, I told her to go get a lottery ticket, and she was about that life. So I think she got one. And
so she won today. She won 70 million.
I think
today.
she must have won like 7 mil. So Donna, please, bottle service for Jake, Zaz, and I, and maybe a nice dinner or something like that. What do you think?
Wait, anyway. No, she's chipping in on Jude Bellingham. Apparently,
oh,
she's putting the 70 million in towards Jude Bellingham. Yeah. So a couple of things about Mo. That hat trick now makes him the number 1 goal scorer for an English team in the history of the Champions League. Ahead of Aguero.
You've been pushing this agenda. I've seen it. He's been pushing this point for a while.
It's insane.
Why is it so important, Azaz? Why
it's
is it so important?
It's insane. So that's number 1. And the second point with this hat trick, with this hat trick, he now has scored more goals than Torres and Suarez combined in less games than both of them. It's really funny.
He's not finished.
No,
he's not finished.
No.
Right? And we're gonna have him for 7 more years. So that's gonna be like that. That milestone is not gonna be reached for like eons. He's gonna push that.
And now he is having a less impressive start to the season than previous seasons. He has struggled this year, no doubt, and yet he is on 7 goals this season now with that hat trick. So. I don't think that's the last we've seen. Yeah. One thing though, speaking practically though, I would like to see him a little bit closer to the goal. Like I think that was another great
example. His position was actually adjusted slightly, right? When he came in, he was playing inside, right? Yeah. And as opposed to the Arsenal match where, it was Hendo and him. And actually, sorry, no, he subbed on Hendo, but then before Hendo even took his position, he was still up too wide. But I think there's a smart sort of like game plan by Klopp, right? I mean, having Harvey and William play that like energy, right? Like up front, like first half energy, and then bringing in again, it's Rangers. I know you can play them there, but I would like to see something like that for a PL match. Not both, but I would say at least one, just to like give just a little bit more energy, track back, whatnot. But yeah, excellent performance.
We can't let Rangers go without giving a shout out to Bobby. Bobby's been on fire this season. Yeah.
Like he was
the assist.
That assist at the pub. You should have seen it when the replay. Everyone's like, "Ooh!" Like it was just like wow. But it was because it happened so fast that you're like, "Oh, okay." Darwin just lost it, but like it was so classy. But that's Bobby, right? Like he's scoring goals, not like no look goals, things like that. Like. What a player.
I also enjoy his his English review now, right? Like because he's basically speaking in English on his moment at the match. Press conference.
Yeah,
and it's kind of funny because you see those pearly whites, like literally like his whole face, and he's elated because and he's so talented. Is that we expect that from him inside now because he's that cog, the connection cog. But you just see him like and it's like that little star gleaming off his teeth.
It's like that commercial. Remember that Chacoa commercial or whatever it was, like that Indonesian commercial that
yeah.
And he was just like, he was, and Nando would kick it. Bobby, what do you think? Oh, this is like the way he said it. It's so crazy. Sorry, I digress. But yeah, no, it was classy from him, man. He's so underrated, and he's always cast aside. But I think last season he did have injuries, right? Like. And just listening to the pundits now, like across the board, folks still rate him. It's just that like he's not going to be that pressing monster that he's been for us with that famous front three. But let's see what happens on Sunday.
I'm also happy that Mr. Super signing that we had got on the score sheet too, which is very, very, very important for Darwin to get, a CL goal.
Yeah, we're
the inevitable
back-to-back goals now, right? So he scored on Sunday against Arsenal, then he scored on Wednesday. Where's everyone at with Darwin Núñez at the moment?
I like what he's doing.
He's still hard-headed a little bit, right? Do you think? He's not. We
he's
haven't
upset
given
at
him
himself. I feel like he's like really hard on himself. Like he just really wants to do well. Like you get that sense from him, and he gives it. Like he brings it. He brings the effort. Like everyone recognizes that. All the pundits, fans, everything. And now his return, his finish is about the only thing they could really, sort of complain about if you want to complain about it. And he's scoring. It's not like he isn't, but the inevitable comparisons are there, right? When you see Haaland putting in 14 or whatever it is, and you're compared to that, whether that's right or wrong, price tag, timing, all that kind of stuff, it's inevitable that he's going to be compared to Haaland. Now, if LFC were up in the table, like if we were up in the top 4 right now, and Darwin's on the same, on the same amount of goals, and Haaland's doing his thing, I don't think folks would be too concerned, like in that they wouldn't be sort of putting Darwin down. But on a per minute basis, as what do you think?
What's the question?
On a per minute basis, is Darwin showing value?
So far to me, he is. Yeah, like I think the one blip I would have against him is his red card and like his temperament, because it also shows how Bobby, Mo, Mane, even Jota, like obviously have had that treatment since they've been here as well. And he rose to the occasion. Like Diaz he rose to that in like 2, and Diaz as well. And he rose to that in his second game, and he did headbutt someone. I wasn't happy about that. I wasn't impressed with it. Beyond that, like I really don't know if he's being judged way too early, in my opinion. And like, is it because of Haaland as well? Sure. But like the thing at the moment is Haaland, I read this today in prep for this, Haaland scores a goal like every 50 minutes, right? 5-0. So like, sure, like he's almost getting 2 goals a game. That means Darwin's stats are, he's only got 3, so it's not like it's a big body of work, but like Darwin's getting a goal every 100 minutes, right? So like he's not had enough time really for us to judge him the same way. Like if he had played in the Man City team with the same kind of service and every game, because we've also been struggling, I'm not saying he would have been on 14, but he's got 3 for Liverpool. So like 7, 8, is he then a flop? So I don't like that. I also don't like the fact that we would, or anybody would, write him off this early anyway, because it's just not fair. Like everybody's had that bedding in period over time. There are people who start like a house on fire, like Mo did, like Sadio did. But like I remember Torres was terrible in pre-season, and then he didn't score for the first game. 2 games, because there was also a Champions League qualifier, and then he scored against Chelsea in his 3rd game, and he never looked back since. So like like Darwin scored on his debut, then got sent off.
Suarez was kind of like that too, right? I mean,
he was
Suarez, right? I mean, aside from the United game, like he started a little bit slower than what he ended up, obviously, with. So and he's 22, 23. Like
there's a lot of Liverpool strikers that have been like that, though, right? Like Peter Crouch has done that, Ricky Lambert's done that, Andy's done
20 games. Peter Crouch was 20 games.
Wow.
So it's a long-term project. I like him. I back him. I think, clearly we've changed the system because of him. There's been inconsistencies, but we've also not been playing well. Darwin ain't our issue. We've got proper, proven world-class players who have not been playing to their usual standards. I would much rather them get to their regular standard than watch what happens with Darwin when all of them are playing at their standard, than thinking, to me at the moment, Darwin is the problem. I'm good with him. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I believe he will come good. But you know what? Like people who we've all liked and loved have not necessarily come good, and that's okay too. Like I remember Harry Kewell, for example. Like I just thought we'd had like a problem left side since we had John Barnes, and like he never really reached his Leeds potential, like Leeds level. Sorry, with us again. There's so many of them. Like they're just not coming into my
Cisse,
mind
I
right
remember
now.
like
Yeah, Jibril Cisse. Yeah,
I was a big
yeah,
Cisse fan,
yeah,
and
yeah,
he
yeah.
had some wonderful moments, but he didn't hit
Yeah.
the heights.
No,
Also, the
no.
price tag, right? The price tag
Yeah.
is another problem.
That's the other thing. Yeah,
Like price tag in his head, he's pushing himself to try to be more. And I think as a result, if he just needs to relax a little bit and just play his game, I think it's a bit better. But I think, don't get me wrong, he's on a serious stage. He's playing against an equality, so it's going to get him. Of course, he's got like you've got Suarez and saying that he's like this and combo between these two and us, and it's a lot of pressure, right? He's still young, so and then coming to Anfield and playing in these other stadiums, like it's not easy. But I have faith as well. I mean, except for some of the folks in our LFC Toronto chat, that's a whole different
but you know what, I want to throw it out to you guys actually. This is an interesting thing I just thought about was sub out, let's say, when Darwin was bought and when he joined the team, and swap that with Luis Diaz. Let's just do that for a second, okay? So LFC bought Darwin after selling Sadio. So that meant, like, first of all, you're desperate. No, not desperate. We needed another striker, so the price went up. So the price tag went up. But beyond the price tag, when we were in that last run in January to the end of the season, if it was Darwin, let's say, coming in as a sub or starting from the left with Diogo and obviously Sadio and Mo being on somewhat form and whatnot, do you think, and for that price, let's say for 40, 50 million, whatever it was, do you think he would have fared this, like let's say, as well as, let's say, Diaz fit in? Do you think he would have sort of had that same sort of effect, or do you think it's just sort of the timing and the price tag?
It's a tough question because Darwin has done it in the Champions League. So, Darwin was a stud in the Champions League last year. Yeah. So, he did it against us, and Benfica went far last season. So I love Diaz. He's on my home shirt. That's, you couldn't impress me anymore in the first few months. But at the same time, believe it or not, Diaz was a bigger risk than Darwin, other than the transfer fee. That's the issue. Like, if you're just looking at who's done it in what league, like if you're going to turn around and say, oh, it's just the Portuguese league, that's Diaz, to be honest with you. Like, that's not Darwin, and Diaz came good. The other thing is Diaz joined us when, sure, Mo wasn't at his best, but like our run from January to the end of the season was possibly the most iconic in our lifetimes. Like, unless you're from unless you're from the teams that were like pre the late 80s teams, because there was no Champions League after 84, after Heysel, right? 85, sorry, after Heysel. So like, you would have to be like in the like group of people that saw Liverpool in like the early to mid 80s, late 70s to see a run like we just had, and Diaz joined that team. Now, did he enhance that team? Yes. Was he a part of that team? Yes. I would love to have seen what Darwin would have been able to do in that team, right?
Yeah. Like, that's the question, really. Yeah.
So the thing is like, we need Trent back, we need Virgil back, we need like the midfield operating to some kind of like consistency and not being injured. We need Mo firing. Yeah, we need people to be so worried about Mo that Darwin has more room. Like, it's
I take a lot of flack for this in the chat, and I know I have the number 8 behind me and whatnot, but my support for Naby is, obviously the player and what he can bring on the offensive end and everything else. But the biggest part of his game, if you really study his game, is actually tackling, right? And actually hurrying and putting pressure, knowing when to press, that sort of thing. Similar to what, let's say, Sadio, Mo, Bobby a little bit had. And the thing that I've seen this season, and it was also actually a bit part of last season, was we were like playing to our peak ability on adrenaline for the latter stages of last season. I'm talking like April, May. But when we were at our peak, I think we were playing really, really well. But I think we really missed that sort of like, I forgot who called it this, but like, I think it's Graham Souness who said, like, Liverpool's midfield are really just a bunch of attack dogs who will go out and win the ball back, right? Like so Fabs, and Hendo's and Thiago sort of changed that a little bit because he can do that, but he's a more stylish, less he's a smaller player in sort of physique. So that's what, to me, I think that's what we're really missing the most. Yes, Trent. Yes, people figure out Trent when he goes up and pass around there, play the right side, whatever, the left side, whatever it may be. But like, honestly, I feel like our midfield has really let us down this season, as a whole, and that's affected a lot of other things. Our offense, not as much maybe, but definitely on D. You're seeing teams play right through us, and Virgil and these guys are not expecting that kind of like, not just once or twice a match. This is like every attack, and you're like, what is going on here? Like, we have no structure. So that's what we need the most, I feel like, in this next window, or if not a couple of windows. Get another Genie Wijnaldum or some player like that who is not there to dink in a pass. They're there to really get stuck in, like a Fab number 2. And I think that's what Tchouaméni was supposed to be. I thought Klopp really wanted that. But what do you guys think about that in terms of where we can improve? Bigger picture.
Injuries is a big thing. I like throughout the squad. Like,
Curtis.
Kudos to the entire squad for having to overcome what they've been trying to overcome. Like, it's hard. It's hard to play professional sports and not have your full complement of a team on whatever level. It doesn't matter what sport it is. And for whatever reason, at the same time, or in a small period of time, we've had multiple injuries and big injuries that affected us. And basically that's our engine to support a lot of our play. And so the thing is that, like, I see, there's a bit of overcompensation as well. Like, Fabinho's and whoever, they're overcompensating because of the lack of things. And I love Milner's and, these players, they're soldiers and they've got a heart of gold. But, if that's our starting guy or the first guy that coming off the bench, that's a tough dynamic in, first world team kind of games and matches. Nothing that we, people are coming back. So I saw some, Ox is coming back, Curtis is back. So, or just about to be. And, and you're talking about transfers. I read some really good articles on Tyler Morton as well. Like, he's gotten really good praise from the Blackburn. So I think from what the windows will look like, and we have those kind of up and comers, at least we know that through the pipeline, we're going to have some players coming through our own system. And, it was really nice to see John Dal Thomas and say what kind of player he was and what kind of coaching he got, because he's bringing that Liverpool element to Blackburn. He's spraying the balls around, there's pressure, is good on the ball. And so from that perspective, we got some good pipeline. Well, I'm hoping that we do spend some money. I don't know who. Is it Conrad? Is it who? There's a few, but we do need to beef up. We do need to beef up. I don't. I'm hoping to get Job first and then Jude, and then that's
Job and then Jude. Oh, whoa! You're going for the full Bellingham family.
We need to strengthen nevertheless, but we'll see how this plays out. These rumors of a $300 million Mbappe nonsense, but
hey man, stranger things have happened. Things have happened.
Anyway,
we were once in the running for a quadruple. I mean, hey, yeah.
Okay, so just bringing it back to where we are right now. It's a big game on Friday. Firstly, we all coming to Elephant and Castle?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Coming. I have class, but I'm coming. I don't care if anybody, my prof, is watching this on, whatever. But I'll be there.
Yeah.
And I'll be back. I'll be back in class after.
So how's this looking? Like, how are we going to play this game? So firstly, have to say, as well as Jurgen's press conference, I also watched Pep's, and I was actually
I did too.
Pretty impressed with how he spoke about us. Is that mind games, or does he genuinely think that we are still their biggest challengers? Or like, how do you feel about that? Dan, you seem to be nodding your head.
You know what? Yeah, I because I was watching the Pep one more intently than obviously the Jurgen one. And and the question that got me the most was who's going to be the title challenger to you, right? And he had the obvious question is Arsenal, right? Or the obvious answer is Arsenal. But he seemed to also like just give us credit for the fact that like no matter what happens with us, whether that's all of our center backs are out for like half a season or whatever, we still came third that season, right? We still, qualified for Champions League, and we still brought that back last season. 12 points off, whatever the heck it was, 10, 12, whatever it may be, down to a point. So we have that never say die attitude. And I think he actually gave us credit for that. So I was really happy to see that. It's also a bit of mind games too. He knows. But he also said it. He said, look, if this is 9 games left, and they're like, I don't know about they're going to be sort of title challenges. But it's early enough. There's a World Cup in the middle of it. And we're, Zaz, you mentioned this earlier, like the peak time to be a Liverpool fan in terms of form and what team and that kind of thing in the 80s. I would even contend that the team of 19 to 2021s, let's say, where we had that run of like 27 matches unbeaten, and it was like that to me was peak this team. As much as last season was like, we're picking up trophies and all that. To me, that was like peak form and peak age and peak everything of this of the first Jurgen team, if you want to call it that, where everyone was like, just on it. And we should have been 27. I know that was a foul line div off. But anyway, like that to me. And so like I feel like we can do it, and we can put a run together. And yeah, so that's why I give Pep some credit for that. But going into this match, I feel, I wouldn't say like confident, but I just don't think we're that far apart as people put out there. Yeah, just because Haaland is having a friggin' massive match that, and they beat United, let's say 6-3, which is really 6-1 with some consolation in there. But like at the end of the day, like we're not that far off from them as, let's say, United were or are. And I feel like we're at home. It's Anfield. We're gonna come correct, and we may lose, but I think we're going to be right there. It might be a close one, in my opinion. What do you think, Jake?
I don't know who starts. I don't know who's going to play the first 11, to be honest. I don't know what format and what positional, like what he'll play. I don't know what he's going to play and how he'll play the 6, all the attackers, who's going to play in the mid, who's fit. Knock on wood in the next 2 days, or the next day, like nothing happens to anybody, and we have whatever we have at the moment. And I think that there's going to be some interesting battles. One of the Virgil interview yesterday or today was the fact that, he talked about Haaland, how people were writing him off at the beginning. He's playing, he's got 14, whatever he's got, blah, blah, blah. But he was saying that, we are going to defend as a team. It's us against them. And so it is not just me against him. I'm going to try my best. He's going to do his thing. I'm going to do my thing. And he just broached that kind of team concept, right? The team dynamic of team defending and such. So it's going to be a very tough game. Nevertheless, it always is. Hopefully with the Anfield, like the crowd atmosphere, the dynamic, the city is going to be all red, like all those nuances that kind of lead up to the match that are in our favor happen. Hopefully the fans are in full voice. They get that roar, and then the team gets revved up and they do show up. Right, they show up, like every single person shows up, and unfortunately, this is a game where either side you can't make mistakes because there's so much talent on the pitch. Like this is like billions of dollars worth of talent on the pitch, whereas like the smallest little thing, it makes a difference. Like even last week with Arsenal, right? So in terms of like that Saka goal was offside, there was a mistake here and there, but that's football and things happen. So we can't afford any slips, anything. Or we will get punished in the end. Every position is going to be fought for very, very intensely, and hopefully we put our best foot forward and win. I'm optimistic as well. I'm not sure what kind of scoreline it's going to be, but anyways,
I have a feeling. What do you guys think about Nunez coming off the bench? I have a feeling it's going to be a more of a press. Bobby, Jota, and Mo. Up front, just to pressurize them a bit, because I think that's what we're sort of lacking. That I'm not saying Nunez isn't doing a part, but like having Diogo there just to put some pressure on the Rodriguez and Silvas, I guess, or others like that. And now without Kyle Walker, Stones is out, so they're gonna have a little bit of change in the back there, but quality.
What do you think?
What do you think is that?
I'm okay with whoever starts, to be honest with you. Like, I have faith in all of those four, and Diaz as well. Like, I like the front five. You know, Bobby's been a revelation. The other four, like, I think that they can basically rotate them all. I wouldn't mind even Darwin on the left this time, and Jota or Bobby in the middle. Obviously Mo on the right. For me, it's like I kind of feel like we have to obviously play the game and the occasion, but I hope that the players also look at it somewhat as a big picture as well. Basically, if you look at Man City's fixtures before the World Cup, like, they ain't dropping another point after this. Like, they're not. They're just not. Like, it's just the way it is. So if we could squeeze another fixture in for the one we missed, Chelsea, the maximum we could be close to them if we win on Sunday is 7. So going into the World Cup 7 points behind Man City is nothing but ideal, but also absolutely not insurmountable. But at the moment, it's like 13 points. I feel like, to me, it's like, if you're a part of the Liverpool setup and the squad, and, you know, you've been in it in the last 5 years, or you've spoken to these guys day in, day out about these epic challenges against Man City, like, this is a final for us. This is a cup final. We could get spanked. Absolutely, we could get spanked on Sunday, particularly if we could see the first goal like we have been doing. But, like, at the same time, like, if you ever needed the moment, you know, like, do you remember, like, January 2017 when we won 4-3, which also wasn't a 4-3 game? Like, we weren't
I was thinking about that game.
To win that game.
Exactly.
You know, and, like, the way we blew them away in the Champions League that year at Anfield, like, we weren't even expected to advance in that tie. Like, we were the outside seeds in that, right? So when I look at it like that, I'm like, I see those vibes here that, like, and now you're in a dressing room, like, it's not Lovren, it's not Karius, you know, it's like, it's Van Dijk, and it's, so for me, it's like, whoever puts the shirt on Sunday, like, better be, like, at the level where mentally, because we can't go 16 points behind them, you know, like, it's just, that's where we're at. Like, it's a cup final for us. And the truth is, if we aren't in the league race, which Jurgen says himself, then also we have to stop giving ourselves a mountain to climb just to come fourth as well. You know, so if you look at it from that perspective as well, we are already, like, getting to a point where we are in a no lose, like, we can't lose on Sunday. So that's how I feel like whoever puts the shirt on has to, like, we know we don't have Trent, we know we don't have Diaz, you know, we know we've got midfield injuries, we know they've got defensive injuries, but, like, ultimately, like, we've done this before, you know, like, Barcelona, we won without Bobby and Salah,
Anfield.
You know, it's Anfield, it's the
like
power,
another big thing.
And that's the last thing I'll say before. Would love to get your closing comments, because I know we're close to wrapping up. My biggest thing is, everybody has to bring it on Sunday. And you'll have seen me in our WhatsApp group, you know, being like, come on Sunday. Like, even though they can't hear us in Toronto, like, I feel like the fan base now has to come back together. The players are feeling sorry for themselves. I even saw that interview last week with Jan Fjotov. I felt Jurgen was a little bit feeling sorry for himself, like a little bit.
That was a tough
then he
one
came out. Then he came out for that pre-Rangers press conference, and I was like, "That's my manager. That's my manager." You know, he was like, and so have we. Like, oh, look, we're not challenging for the, like, we play a role in this. So that's what I would say. Anyway, I ate into our time. Give us some closing thoughts.
I need to talk about one thing this weekend. So even as the Man City game, we have our charity food drive. So please do bring perishable goods, whatever it is, canned goods, pasta, you know, tuna, whatever the case is. Please do take some time out and donate. We'll have some bins. We're going to be doing that both at Sly Fox as well as Elephant Castle. So please do join us and bring some food for the needy.
Thank you, Jake. Okay, Dan, prediction with a score.
Yeah, I feel it'll be a 2-1. I feel it's 2-1 Liverpool, and I think we're going to be pragmatic. I actually think we're going to be kind of what United was against us. If you know what I mean, like they were heavily underdogs in that match, and and they just sat back and they countered. And I think we're gonna have to absorb some of that and then start to counter. So I don't know. What do you think, Jake?
It's less than a minute, so I'm gonna say the same thing. 2-1. We gotta go. Well, your turn is
I was gonna say 2-1, so I'm just gonna say 3-1. Fuck it.
3-1. Oh
3-1.
my.
Yeah,
3-1.
let's do it.
That's a heavy score.
This has been your LFC Toronto show, and we shall see you next week. Peace.
Come for the laps on Sunday.
Oh fuck.